For those of you, yeah, fill in, we got plenty of seats. For those of you that missed my marvelous jokes, maybe there'll be time at the later for you to hear even more marvelous jokes. I'm going to save some time at the end of this for some audience participation, at which point, if you do participate, I brought swag with me to give out. So I got stickers, laptop magnets that if you put it on your hard drive, cool things happen, buttons, more stickers, lanyards, notebooks, patches. And if you do a really good job with the audience participation, I have a couple challenge coins to give out, but that's only if you do a very good job. That being said, I have a lot of content to cover, so we're going to have to dive right in it so we can get to that participation at the end. So essentially, yeah, this is the agenda. This is a lot. So we're going to actually cut a lot of stuff out of this. So the premise of the talk, what's old is gold, we're going to be talking about older pen testing techniques and attacks that are still valuable today and may not be, the latest and coolest white paper that's out there, or the funnest tool to use right now, but are still valuable on pen tests. So who am I? My name is Brian Halbach. You may recognize the voice from episode 95 of Darknet Diaries, or you may recognize this scared looking face from my TV special I did last year on Nightline ABC. And then my secret talent is that I can play the tuba. So I'm actually still looking for an opportunity when I can combine playing the tuba and pen testing. So if you can think of a way I can combine those two, you get a challenge coin. I'm still working on this. And lastly, this is what I would look like if I were a gold miner. And wow, I have some just fantastic Photoshop skills. To clear things up right away, though, just this talk is not a formal research talk. In fact, this is kind of just anecdotal evidence I have collected by talking to really a lot of different consultant pen testers at conferences, sitting around at bars, just trading stories. I talked to about a total of 23. Several of those pen testers are actually here. At least one of them is in the audience. Several of them are online on Discord. So thank you for your help. I want to keep this dialogue going. So afterwards, that's kind of the purpose of the participation. So if you have more to add to this, I welcome it. Additionally, what do I mean by pen testing? Because if you talk to other pen testers at the conference, you can have two people with the exact same title, yet do two very different activities. So this is a talk from my perspective, which is that of a consultant pen tester. So I do a little bit of everything. I enjoy internal network pen testing the most, but I also love application pen testing. I will briefly touch on application pen testing, but the majority of this is going to be different network attacks, all from a gray box approach where you work with your customer, you get some information, you don't know everything. So it's not a total black box, but you don't have that tribal knowledge. And additionally, it is a pen test. I'm not going to be covering the latest red teaming or adversary simulation stuff. So there will be blue team knowledge, and this will talk a little bit about getting around automated security tools, but not necessarily beating the blue team, because ultimately I'm a pen tester. I am on the side of the blue team. I want the blue team to do better. If I'm not helping improve the blue team, I'm a failure as a pen tester, really. So let's dive into it now. So who cares about this old crap? When I'm doing my internal pen test right now, I'm still having so much success with the Active Directory certificate services attacks that came out July of last year. So yeah, that's still great. But a lot of this old stuff, I'm still having tons and tons of success with. And it's stuff that if I'm only focused on what's brand new, I will forget about what's old. So understanding the older technology, where it came from, why networks are set up the way they are, because they evolved over time to become to this current state because of older technology. And if you understand that, you can better understand how to attack it and really what you're doing inside of that network. So also going through and looking at older exploits, different techniques, different attacks, it can help put you inside the mindset of that attacker, but also the mindset of the researcher who found it when they were looking into this. And so you can take that knowledge and be like, wait, I've actually seen something similar that I've played with myself, and I have a home lab, so I played with a lot of different attacks in my home lab environment, much to the detriment of my partner whenever I knock down the internet. And it's fun. I enjoy it. It really helps stop burnout personally for me. I know everybody's different, but that's kind of what I do. And lastly, if you post about it on Twitter, you get fun make-believe internet points. And who doesn't love fun make-believe internet points? So for me, one of the things that's really helped me in my career and in pen testing has been this mindset of education and exploration, where I'm always trying to dig into either new things or sometimes it's easier to dig into the old things. Looking at the old stuff first, getting an understanding of that before you look at something else later can really help broaden your horizons. And so I've taken this mindset of education paired with exploration, and that's really what's led to a lot of the content you'll see in this talk, as well as stories and anecdotes I've collected from other pen testers. So to kind of get us started off on this journey, let's not forget about the good old OSINT Gold. So when doing pen testing, I know as a consultant, sometimes we are on a time crunch. I really don't get enough time as I wish I could to do OSINT on every engagement. On certain engagements, I'm sometimes like, well, I can take over the entire network without ever touching a single OSINT tool, so why would I waste my time? But really, there's so much information, and I have been finding more and more valuable information, especially since the pandemic hit, of companies putting up documentation on how to use VPNs, showing the username schema, which then will help you create a username list for password spraying or whatever else you want to do, AS rep roasting. There's so many entries inside of the Google Dorks database that there's going to be something in there that is useful. That's been around for a while, and yeah, there's still new entries coming in. There's still old entries that are great. Social media, people are still posting information online. If your company that you're pen testing happens to be going back to the office or even hybrid, I'm finding more users posting pictures of the office now, like, oh yeah, we're finally back. And there's a picture of the Wi-Fi password right behind them. So that's always helpful. So yeah, if you're at the talk right before this, they're talking about the importance of even a strong Wi-Fi password. But I mean, if someone's taking a picture of it and posting it on social media, I don't even have to do all those fancy Wi-Fi hacking techniques because somebody put it online. So yeah, there's tons of information. Don't forget, if you have the time, do some good OSINT. There's some good stuff out there, and it's crazy what you can find if you can really dig deep. Well, let's get into the next thing that you may be doing on your pen test, some good old scanning gold. So I feel like this isn't something that's really forgotten or missed, but I wanted to talk about two different things. One of them being scanning with a purpose. Don't just scan to scan, but scan with a methodology of why you're accomplishing this in mind. This is something that I've seen with some junior pen testers where they're like, okay, now I'm at the step where I run a scan, enter command, okay, now I have output, and they move on. But I myself have a methodology where when I'm inside a network, I try to run a Nmap fast scan first just to get output and just hit the ground running. I can do something. That way, when I'm doing more intensive scans using version and script scan or the -A flag, because those will take a little bit more time, I can already be doing something valuable right away because I have that fast scan first. And then after that comes back, because if you're just doing the defaults, scripts, and versions and don't tag anything else, you're only doing the top 1,000 ports. So don't forget about, next I usually go into the top 10,000 ports. And while that's running, I also do the top 65,566 ports. 66, I scan port 0. We are pen testers, so it's important to look for those edge case scenarios where you're going to bump into, I don't know, a Solaris system, some old Unix system that's got port 0 misconfigured and listening on the network. So don't forget to look for that stuff. And additionally, Nmap is incredibly customizable. If you're scanning over WAN links or VPN connections or other things, changing like the max retransmission, the RTT value, how many times it's going to send out its scans, those can actually net you better results by having a solid methodology behind it and not waste your time also. Additionally, I've run into occasions where due to one constraint or another, or I'm jumping through so many proxy chains that essentially Nmap has become unreliable. So turning to other tools, HPing3, or even scripting them out myself on whatever, like if I'm 6 jumps deep inside of the network, just scripting out in PowerShell, Bash, whatever scripting or programming language of your choice, just write your own scanner. And then if you have a solid methodology behind you, you can put that logic into your script, because those are just going to blast out every port as fast as freaking possible. And there's a chance that if you're deep in the network, maybe you're going to miss something. Or if you actually implement those methodologies in your scripts, you're going to get better results back. You're going to do a better pen test. So let's move on to some other network type attacks. So oftentimes in Nmap scans, you may see printers coming back. This is something that I think early on in my career, I kind of overlooked, but then fell in love with. I really like printer exploitation. This is an image that I took from the GitHub for the printer exploitation framework, which allows you to talk to the printers in different languages, and then just do different fun malicious attacks. So destroy the printer. Probably don't do that one, but you can. Additionally, intercept print jobs. Just stop the printer from printing and do other stuff. So additionally, several of these printers may have web interfaces that may tell you a lot of times that they are connected to the network to Active Directory. And if they have default credentials on the web interface, there's a possibility that you can go into that printer configuration and you can either look where their credentials are. And I've been able to back out the password. So back out one letter, guess that letter, go through the whole alphabet, back out 2 letters, guess those last 2 letters, and just do a nice manual search. Or hopefully you script that out so you save your sanity and get the Active Directory credentials. If not, there are some printers that allow you to change the endpoint for the LDAP connection. So you point it to yourself and catch the hash and crack it. Another fun one that I cannot take credit for, but I learned from somebody else, was they were on the printer for the CEO, well, the assistant to the CEO. And they got into the web configuration. It was not connected to Active Directory, but they could change the little display screen message. So with Pret, they turned off the printing. You couldn't print anymore. And they put a little message on there that said, printer malfunction, please call blah, blah, blah for repairs. And sure enough, they called the number and they go, oh yeah, it's showing that message. Yeah, here, go to pentestercontrolledwebsite.com/download and download this tool to fix it. And yeah, sure enough, we got them to download the payload, executed it, and now we are on the laptop for the assistant to the CEO, which was absolute great. It really helped us show the impact of the pen tests. Because a lot of times, yeah, I love getting DA. I try to get DA every time I can. But when explaining to a CEO or somebody from the board of directors that, yeah, I got DA, that is probably going to go right over their head and going to mean nothing to them. But when I was able to show that I was able to take over the printer in their office and get malware on their assistant's computer, all of a sudden this became real. And now they're like, oh yeah, we need to make some changes around here. So yeah, thinking outside of the box, combining multiple different attack vectors can really help out. Additionally, let's not forget that a lot of these giant multifunction printers, when they're bought, they're going to be there forever. I've run into printers that were purchased in 2007 and are still in operation. And then we additionally found out they have a massive 500 gigabyte hard drive. Well, nowadays that's not massive, but in 2005, that was insane. Who knows how much they paid for that? Too much. That stored all the documents on it. If they're tossing them out, or if you can get physical access to the printers and either pull the hard drive and pull off all the documents, or just connect to the printer and communicate to it over using Pret and download the files, that is absolutely, it's gold. It's printer gold. So moving on to SMB Gold. SMB has become one of my favorite protocols, using that for network enumeration, password spraying, you name it. It's a great way to communicate and exploit over the network. I've actually still been finding SMB null sessions. So I was actually just doing a purple team the week before I came here, and they were guaranteeing me, oh yeah, you burned us last time on SMB null sessions. There's no more on the network. So I'm like, okay, here's the tool. Can you prove it? And so I taught them how to run it, and sure enough, we actually found null sessions allowed on a old forgotten domain controller, which I don't know how that escaped their purview, but it did. And sure enough, lots of absolutely valuable enumeration was able to happen. Lists of all of the users, lists of just lots of network information. And then, yeah, if you have if you have access to the admin $ or IPC, using those PS exec techniques. So I have been seeing a in packet being caught lately, but if you understand the underlying technique and just rewrite it in Ruby or Go, but you have to write your own SMB transport, you can get it to work again and bypass those in-packet detections. Additionally, I've just been having fun digging more into SMB and really understanding the DCE, RPC endpoints that are going on underneath it. And then that brought me down the tunnel to learn more about DCOM. And now I've been really loving learning about DCOM and using that for pivoting. So there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with SMB. To continue on with that, I actually just updated this slide. So this is a picture from the GitHub of PowerHunt shares, which is new. It was released by Scott Sutherland at NetSpy. So Scott, I never got a chance to talk to you. If you're watching this, you're invited to my house for barbecue so we can talk about this stuff. But this was an absolutely great tool because originally this slide talked about using like find string and find interest, the PowerShell find interesting files or invoke share hunter. And really this tool actually takes those and puts a nice little wrapper around it, and it has a very nice parallel execution, because when you would used to run find interesting files in PowerShell, it would take so long to run in a long network that like it would take 5 days just to get results when you had a lot of open shares. And this gives you just a lot better detailed information. And when I handed this over to the blue team, they're like, holy crap, this is awesome. Graphs, management loves graphs. This is going to be great. And it gives you a timeline on the bottom of like when the shares were created. And a lot of times you see spikes whenever there's a merger or acquisition within the company, which I thought was interesting. It will give you details about permissive ACLs on the different shares. And it just combines a lot of already existing really good pen testing techniques into one tool. So that way you can do more pen testing faster. But yeah, again, this is a loud tool. So running this on your red team or adversary simulation probably isn't recommended. But otherwise, I've been having a blast with this. Moving on, who doesn't love Kerberoasting? Kerberoasting is actually, when I've been talking to the different pen testers when I was collecting the information for this talk, I found it to be a little interesting because there were some people who are like, yeah, I've been doing this every pen test since this came out. Like, of course, like how are people not doing this? And then talking to other pen testers who are like, oh yeah, like I know of Kerberoasting. I've done it a couple times, but not really running it every time. So I still think that if you're on a pen test, this should be something that you examine every time and give feedback on, because I'm seeing some clients moving to group managed service accounts, which still can be compromised. You use your same methodology for attacking laps, but to attack group managed service accounts and get those, find the accounts or whoever has permissions to read the GSMA passwords. Still seeing weak passwords with Kerberoasting. I think it was about a month and a half ago, I got DA just from Kerberoasting and cracking a password. And then a fun one that my coworker has done a couple times and had me do a couple times. We had generic all to a Active Directory user, and we used that permission to have that user set an SPN for itself, and then Kerberoasted them and then cracked that password. So another fun attack, just another variation on Kerberoasting. So again, if you understand Kerberoasting, if you understand the principles of it, and I won't go into too much detail because that could be its own hour talk by itself. And I think Tim has a great talk online about it. But if you understand those principles and how to apply it into different situations, you can really find some great gold inside of the network. Moving on, FTP Gold. I'm still finding FTP. Recently, I actually just had a company that before had 0 FTP, and then a year later, after people moved back into the office, they had a lot of FTP. It ends up the air filtration and control system that they had installed throughout their building, which was a good move. I think protecting the health of your workers is good, is great, but they didn't really understand that the devices that they actually put on that talk over the network had anonymous FTP shares enabled on them. So yeah, you can use that for hosting payloads, trying to take over the devices. I don't know, if you want to show impact, show that you can maybe delete the files with the configuration files for the air filtration control system. But yeah, FTP is still gold. Don't forget to look for it and try to exploit it. Let's not forget about FTP's younger brother, TFTP. And I guess it's a really good thing that we didn't make an entire ecosystem of devices that are going to be on a network for 40 years or 30 years or 20 years that all revolve around TFTP. Oh, wait, we did. I'm still seeing Cisco routers and switches that are nightly pushing out and collecting configurations from the devices through TFTP. even though there is an option now if you update your devices to do that securely. So you can capture full router and switch configs if you are in the correct network position, and just get a lot of absolute network gold from that. Also, let's not forget that Cisco IP phones, again, I've seen those that were purchased in 2005 still on a network. They pull down their configuration from TFTP. There are a lot of different attacks that you can do against those phones, such as if you're in the correct position, pushing out your own malicious configuration, or if you can view the web server for the phone. I stole this photo from a blog post from TrustedSec, so I'm just stealing all my stuff everywhere, but thank you, TrustedSec. They put out a new tool called CUCM Thief, which automates this entire attack process of getting onto the correct VLAN. Or in some cases, I've seen the voice traffic being on the same subnet or the same VLAN. VLANs and subnets are separate, but well, that's another talk. Being on the same VLAN, and you can just hit all of these phones. You can find where the TFTP servers are. You can pull down the configurations. Oftentimes there are a lot of good information in there. If you run CUCM Thief, it can help automate the entire attack so that you can pull down possibly Active Directory credentials from it, and start doing more enumeration, see what permissions you have. Lots of fun stuff, because it needs that AD credentials so that it can pull down the phone book, phone numbers and stuff that's stored in AD, and just cool stuff. But yeah, besides that, let's not forget that you can just intercept the phone calls. Wireshark has the built-in feature just to listen to the phone calls. So while talking to another pen tester, they shared an interesting story where they did a ARP poisoning attack and were able to intercept all of the phone calls that were going across the subnet. Ends up they were phone calls for payment. So people would call up and they would either punch in their credit card numbers or they would say out loud their credit card numbers. So again, with some Python magic, they were able to rip out all of the RTP streams, feed it through some Python magic that could either analyze it for language and pull out the credit card numbers. And that really showed impact. Like showing them that they got DA wasn't a big deal. Showing them that we got PCI information, whoa, that was a wake-up call. They actually did some cool stuff. They did implement DHCP snooping and dynamic ARP inspection to stop the ARP poisoning. And then they figured out that there was actually another device that they could add to their PBX. So the calls going across the inside of their network would actually be encrypted. So from the user to the company, it wouldn't be encrypted, but then inside of the network it was. So I thought that was a pretty cool solution. Moving on from that, I have an entire slide here. I couldn't fit all the network protocols up there because I wanted to talk about the fun tool Yersinia. But yeah, they stopped the ARP poisoning for man-in-the-middle attacks. But let's not forget, there's a whole bunch of other network protocols out there that can allow you to put yourself into a machine in the middle position. So I have, VTP, SDP, DTP, all the fun protocols. CDP, which is needed to get those Cisco phones working. So if you're on a network that has Cisco phones, CDP is going to be on there. That's how it has to work. If they disable it, they broke all their phones. So yeah, you can use spanning tree protocol and mess with the spanning tree election and elect yourself as the root bridge. And if they have DTP configured to be in like a auto negotiate mode, you can negotiate yourself as a trunk port, and you'll be the root bridge for spanning tree. And you can see a crap load of additional information that you would not have seen before. They're attacks that you kind of have to make the stars and the moons align just right to pull off, but it's not impossible. Again, actually, just on the purple team we ran Wireshark, and HSRP packets were coming out the switch ports, which should not have been configured. But again, yeah, just say, hey, I want to join the HSRP pool. I would like to be, I'm your default gateway now. Woo! You can now man in the middle of the network. A little sketchy, so don't always go after that one. But another fun option. And then again, yeah, Yersinia has built-in features to examine all these protocols, display it nice on your screen for you, and assist you crafting the attacks so that you do it correctly and don't destroy the client's network. That being said, like it doesn't support everything. So like if the client's running, what I just run? They were running per VLAN spanning tree plus, or rapid per VLAN spanning tree. And this only supports regular spanning tree. But if you use the tool, all right, is this Scapy or Scapy? But Scapy. So yeah, if you use Scapy, they have per VLAN spanning tree inside of it. And if you understand the principle of the attack that you're trying to do, you can put the correct functions together correctly and still run all of these attacks. So just because it's not in Yersinia, which is a great tool, that's been around forever and it's still getting updates, you can do these attacks yourself. Also, GNS3, the network tool, can be used to set up your own router. And if you know what you're doing, you can just set up your own router and switch, join it to the rest of the network, as long as you have enough bandwidth. So make sure that you're talking to your blue team. Pen testing is a customer service, or consulting pen testing is a customer service business. So be talking to them the whole time. They're comfortable with you doing this kind of stuff. And I love it when they are, because I'm like, is this going to work? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's really cool. So let's try it. Like when I get into those situations, it's really what brings joy to this job for me. But yeah, continuing on, clear text gold. So clear text in both transits and in storage. So when I was running that purple team and had them running Power Hunt shares, they were positive I wasn't going to find any clear text credentials. I had them use it, and they found the username and password in clear text for a service account in a share right next to the RDP configuration file for the server that it needs access to. So that was pretty cool, all in clear text. And yeah, long passwords won't really protect you when they're in the clear. It was a nice long password. It was a service account with a really long password, but that did them no good. So again, analysis of network traffic. This is a story that I got from another pen tester where you'll notice that Responder is actually not going to be up here, even though a lot of pen testers love Responder. But they were running Responder, and they actually caught clear text credentials for POP3 and IMAP because I believe it was the marketing division, or whichever division handled social media. They were using a third-party application that would hook into emails and stuff like that. And that application, since it wasn't Outlook or Thunderbird or the email client for Mac, was not sending, or was not using the encrypted version of those protocols. So it was sending them in clear text, kind of without the company's knowledge. And another great way to show impact is they were able to go out to the company's Facebook site, click forgot password. They were able to see the email pop up that said, oh, you forgot your password. Would you like to reset it? And they took a screenshot of that and included that in the report. And that is what management cared about. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, this is reputational damage. This isn't just getting this ephemeral DA thing that these tech nerds keep talking about. This is real now. So that I thought was a really good way to show impact and get them to take this serious. And then continuing on, if you did a lot of good OSINT that we talked about earlier, there's a good chance that you can find some password leaks, weak passwords, and of course, password reuse. Finding low-level IT admin staff have the same password as their DA account inside a network. That is probably not the best practice to be having. And then even if when you're doing your OSINT, if you did find a nice dump like this, running tools like John the Ripper or Hashcat, but just doing a permutation on that single password and not running the cracking function, so that you can have a giant password list of all, but changing the A's for @ signs and putting 1, 2, 3 exclamation at the end. You now have a personalized password list for all the users that you're going to get greater chance with. So yeah, the dump may have been from 2012, but if you run all the combinations and permutations on it, you're going to have a nice long list that's going to get you absolute gold when you're doing password cracking or anything like that. And we talked about some social engineering before. And I feel like sometimes, depending on who I would speak to, social engineering either just meant, oh, social engineering, that's phishing. Yep, I'm a pen tester. I do social engineering. That equals phishing engagements. Don't forget, there's more than that. Combining social engineering in with your other attacks is absolutely great, like the printer one that I mentioned earlier. And then I like doing the 1-2 punch. So it's been getting more difficult and difficult. If the client doesn't want to whitelist your phishing emails, just writing up an actual email with a link that once you know it's in their inbox, changing the redirect on the link to a page that just says, oh, you clicked on a phishing link, good try, and then tracking that. Once you know people have seen that screen, give them a call and then say, hey, it's Brian from IT. It's okay. Yeah, we saw you clicked on a phishing link. No big deal. There are plenty of other people did that also. But because you did that, I'm just going to need you to go to pentestercontrolledwebsite.com/download and run this really quick antivirus scan. It shouldn't take any time. In fact, it's just going to pop up a little box and it's going to disappear and run in the background. So it's okay. So a little bit maniacal, but also a fun way to combine social engineering if they don't want to whitelist phishing or phishing is getting difficult. Yeah, and just using that mentality to think outside the box, using printers to social engineer people, or even talking to your clients about social engineering opportunities, because there will be times where they will have pretexts or just situations that they've had in mind that are so outside of what I know because I don't have that internal tribal knowledge that they're like, oh yeah, we think this is possible. Give it a try, see what you get. So again, this is a customer service industry. Talking to your customers and letting them also think outside of the box can lead to some absolutely interesting findings, and especially on the social engineering side. So let's continue on from that. Dumpster diving. So I was thinking about including some other physical slides. I love doing physical pen tests. I've done a bunch of them. If you listen to the Darknet Diaries, you can hear about the time I broke my feet doing one of them. So, and actually when I did the TV special last year, we knew ahead of time before the cameras got there that there was going to be a lot of good information in the dumpster. And so like we actually made sure not to make it a point, just because the TV cameras, like they wanted to put the master key on television. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. Because we actually made master keys for the entire building on site. And they're like, cool, camera, let's put that on TV, on national television. So yeah, we made sure to cut dumpster diving and cutting master keys from national television. But if you have the opportunity, if you're close to your clients, asking if you can go over there and do it, if you're not close, again, if the blue team is on your side and we work together, we are one team. If you want to ask them, hey, is there any information that is in your dumpsters? So I did this once for a company that would send bills, and essentially like, here's a bill that our customers would get that you could either get from somebody's garbage themselves or from like our garbage possibly. They gave me all the information and they're like, you can use this for social engineering. So they made some fake accounts. I had to social engineer the customer service department. But instead of me actually going and jumping into a dumpster myself, I had somebody just tell me what I could find. So you don't actually physically have to jump in, or just, have the blue team check, have them get their hands dirty. All right. And lastly, or not lastly, almost lastly, web bugs. So this essentially could also be an entire talk itself of what's old is gold in the world of web application security, because there are still a lot of stuff. HTTP request smuggling. I thought this was the coolest thing since sliced bread, and I was telling everybody about it. And then one of the things that I love about working at InGuardians is that we have people who have been pen testing for almost as long as I've been alive. And they're like, yeah, that's not new. I'm like, what? No, it just came out. I just saw the talk about it. It's new. And yeah, they pointed me to some resources about like, I think it went by another name, but it's the exact same attack. So actually going in and diving into those old attacks. And even when I was talking to one of the founders of my company, we even brought up like the OWASP 2007 list. And a lot of it's still there. It's different names, but what's old is gold in the world of web application security also. So yeah, maybe if you have time, I'll do a whole nother talk about what's old is gold in the world of web applications. But yeah, everything that I've talked about here, you can apply to web applications also. And then lastly, just because I love doing network pen tests, but also love hitting them up on weak web applications. I just love running Eyewitness. When I talked to the different people collecting the information for this presentation, I think everybody had said, yeah, of course we run Eyewitness or Go Witness, or there's another variation of it out there. So whatever variation of this tool that you want to run, I just still like Eyewitness because it will, most of them identify what type of web application you're looking at. Because once you're inside the network, if you hit a data center, there could be 20 different, 40 different, 240 different web applications in there, and sorting them out so that you can focus the majority of your time on those high issue web applications is great. And especially when you run into like printers and they tell you right there, hey, here's what we believe the default credentials are. And you're like, great. And then you go do all those printer attacks that I just talked about before. So yeah, I just love Eyewitness. Excellent. So I actually saved plenty of time. So the end here is for questions, comments. If you have rude criticism, please send that to my Commander-in-Chief, Jay Beal. If you have compliments and praise, please send that to me on Twitter, to Brian Halbach. But then I actually have a question to pose to you, the audience. And I have a volunteer over here who has a bunch of different swag items. So I have stickers, I have magnets. I think I told you everything I had before, notebooks. You can go over there once you participate. And then are you monitoring Discord? Or okay. So then if we get questions on Discord, I'll have to figure out how to get your information and send you something. But what is, you as the audience, first question, how am I going to combine playing the tuba and pen testing? That's question one. Question two, while you're mulling that over, what are some other techniques that you think are old but still gold? We got one in the front. Oh, okay. Okay. So what we got for those watching the stream or the recording is if you're doing a physical pen test and the door is locked, I can go outside and play the tuba outside of the door, at which point the people will be so intrigued by the tuba that they will come outside and I will drop the tuba and sprint inside and get inside. So that was excellent. Please choose whatever you want from the box. And then we got one all the way in the back. Oh, yes. So yeah, if I go to a sports game and I probably wouldn't even have to pay for tickets. I would probably bring my sousaphone in that case, wrap that around my body, and then I can go wherever the band goes and I wouldn't have to pay for tickets. Yeah, I could hide stuff in the bell also. Is that what? Yes, I'm loving this. Yeah, and then if you want to either come up to the front or we'll deliver you some swag somehow. Another one in the front over here. Ah, absolutely. Okay, so he said LDAP null binds and RPC null sessions. Yes, another great way to enumerate username lists, lots of other stuff. Absolute gold. And then we'll make sure that the swag can get delivered to you. Do we have any? Oh, we have one in the middle over here. Oh, okay. So yeah, that I believe there was actually a news article not too long ago about a certain pop song that if you played would destroy hard drive. So if I could figure out how to play my tuba at that same frequency, I could do a DOS attacks against hard drives. So that's gold and uses the tuba. And then we got another one in the middle.
Can you repeat the question, Brian?
Could you say that? I only caught part of that. Oh, yeah, good question. So I mentioned that with SMB.
Brian, can you repeat the question for the online folks?
Oh, yeah, the question was in regards to SMB, I had mentioned that there are some other tools to use for like null binding and just other ways to interact with it. And if any of that is open source. So as I haven't open sourced what I had been working on, but there are alternatives, I believe, besides Impacket. So honestly, the best way that I've been having luck with this is I've been using a Windows VM or just using Windows itself and abusing the built-in functionality of that to communicate over SMB. But otherwise, I'm working on a Go implementation, essentially of several of the things that I do the most often in Impacket, because I'm noticing that it's getting flagged for being Impacket, but when I try it in like a different language or just using a Windows system, it's not getting flagged. So they're flagging on Impacket because if you actually read the source code for Impacket, it has a to-do list under the SMB section of all the things that aren't complete. So when you do an actual analysis of the network traffic, you can actually see, oh yeah, this is speaking SMB, but this isn't like real SMB. It's missing a couple things. So Impacket, it's fully functional for how you need to interact with things. So I guess the solution is I either get better at Python and put in the rest of the stuff that needs to be in SMB or finish what I'm working on in Go and you can interact with SMB or those other protocols with Go. We have another one in the back. Oh, you're going to have to stand up or come closer so I can hear. So I caught playing tuba outside for reconnaissance could also help. So yeah, I absolutely love that. Make sure he gets some good swag, and the other people, if you didn't get swag yet, make sure by the end raise your hand if you didn't get swag, or I'm going to confuse myself on who's asking what. But yeah, near the end, make sure you get swag. And then we have one on the side over here. So yes, tuba cases are very big. I actually have a backpack tuba case, so I can carry a tuba on my back. So I could fit a lot of pen testing equipment into that. So that is another good one. We got one in the front. Yes, we have for what's old is gold, VLAN hopping with DTP, which is great. Yeah, VLAN or just putting yourself on another VLAN is just really good. That Trusted Sec blog post that I talked about, they go into a little bit of detail about it. But yeah, doing those different attacks can help you bypass firewalls also. So that's very helpful. And we got one here in the red shirt. Okay, so I'm going to recruit an entire marching band and overwhelm the entryway so that it's easier to get in. And I have it in the back over here. Oh, there we go. So I could fill the parking lot with flyers for tuba lessons with a QR code for them to scan to take them to one of my malicious sites. That's another good one. Do we have any questions from the Discord?
Yes, we do. Perfect timing. The question is, what was the graphing app that displays the open shares that management would love?
So yes, this is called Power Hunt Shares, and made by Scott Sutherland over at NetSpy. And then I have, let's see if bonus slide for those of you who stuck around is just remember to have fun with this. This is kind of a high level talk. I love coming to these conferences in person because I love hearing these anecdotal stories from other pen testers. Like, hey, I put a message on the printer and that's how I got command and control on the CEO's laptop. Like, just hearing those stories in person is awesome. So have fun, explore, explore, explore. Think of things in different ways. Look at old projects for inspirations to new, and just never stop learning. And then I think we still have one more or a couple other Discord questions. Oh, and then one last thing is I saw some people were playing buzzword bingo, and then some people on Discord made it into a drinking game. I was on the same channel you were, so I would just like to say to you, Cyber APT, MITRE ATT&CK, C2 Framework, Machine Learning and AI, Zero Trust, Hacker in the derogatory sense, Ransomware, Russia, China. So all of you playing the drinking game, just finish your drink right now. And then did we have one more on Discord? I felt my phone buzzing, and I don't know if it's the Discord channel or just something else. It's probably rude criticism directed at me, even though I said not to direct it at me. Okay. All right. Well, one more in the front. Oh, yeah. Out-of-date operating systems, just looking for those old exploits. Yeah, you can still find Eternal Blue. If you're lucky, you can still find MS-08067. Yeah, just don't forget that those are still out there, especially on legacy networks, hospitals, ICS networks. Don't forget about that. Thank you. That's gold, absolute gold. And then one other in the back. Could you say that one more time? I need more. Somebody else repeat it. Oh, need more Firefly memes. Thank you. I love Firefly, and I just started rewatching it. So absolutely. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for the audience participation. Yep. Make sure to collect your swag if you answered, if you participated, and then whoever asked that question online, I will try to find you and get you something also. Thank you.